Welcome to the 5th episode of Betting on the Iron Throne, where we'll be looking ahead to episode 5 of the 8th and final season of Game of Thrones. I'm Drew Goldfarb, joined by Taylor Smith. We're going through a handful of prop bets that might be relevant to this week's Game of Thrones episode, and obviously, since we're talking about betting odds in an upcoming episode and addressing those that have already paid off, we will be getting into spoiler territory. So now that that's covered, Taylor, let's start with a possible wedding. The question this week is, will Sansa Stark marry Tyrion Lannister?
I don't think we're going to see that. We saw it earlier in the series. They got married. It was kind of a forced, arranged type of wedding. They're kind of reconnecting a little bit in this season. It seems like there might be, they kind of look at each other a certain way, but I have a hard time believing Sansa really wants to marry him again. Nothing against his status as a tiny human, but it just seems weird to do that again. So, the series has been pretty weird to begin with, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I think no at minus 700. It's the heavy favorite for a reason. So I'd say that's where you should go.
Speaking of the Lannisters, what do the odds makers say, and what do you say about who will be the first Lannister to die in Season 8?
So Jaime's the heavy favorite, minus 200. You have Cersei at plus 150 and Tyrion at plus 400. Jaime's always seemed like the first to go. He's the one that is always battling. The other two aren't really fighters. Cersei's obviously the main villain at this point, but I don't think she'll be the first to die if any of them die. Jaime's the favorite for a reason. He's going back down to King's Landing as of the last episode where the conflict is about to take place. So it seems like he's going to die at some point. So minus 200, I think that's decent value. So I'd go Jaime.
Let's talk about the dragons. We've got an over-under bet for this one as we're looking at how many dragons will be alive at the end of the season. Over-under is set at 1/2. So the question is, will any dragon survive at the end of the show?
So we saw the Viserion die last season. He came back as a zombie dragon. Rhaegal died in this past episode, or we think he died. We didn't officially see him die, but we think he's dead. So there's only one left. I don't think the last dragon will die, and there's a chance Rhaegal may not even be dead in the first place. So over 1/2 at minus 200 makes sense. If you want to take the under at plus 160, I don't hate that from a profit potential standpoint, but if I were betting on it, I'd take the over, minus 200.
Let's do a fun one. After episode 4's coffee cameo, will we see another coffee cup on screen by end of season 8?
Anything's possible. It was a little shocking to see that happened, considering how much detail is in this show and how seriously they seem to take themselves. But, it's possible we could see one. So yes, at plus 1,500 is a decent high upside bet if you just want to throw like $1 on it. But no, at minus 6,000 seems to be the bet. So I'll say no more Starbucks in Game of Thrones.
It was really weird just to see that pop up on screen just completely randomly. I guess just must have been doing a lot of takes on that one particular scene.
Must have been a long day, yeah.
Absolutely. So last one, we ask it every week, who will rule Westeros at the end of the series? We had some big movement on the odds board after episode 4, right?
Yeah, so Bran is now the favorite at plus 200, and last week he was at plus 550. So he saw a pretty big move toward the top. I'm not entirely sure why. He hasn't really done anything the entire series. Jon Snow is plus 300. Sansa, same thing. Gendry plus 600 is a little bit interesting. But I keep going back to Cersei. We've talked about this in the past. Cersei's way down at plus 3,000 now. Last week she was at plus 2,500. The value just speaks for itself. She's on the Iron Throne right now. She's the villain. She's the most powerful person in Westeros right now. I think if you can get her at plus 3,000, you should just take that bet. I'm not overly into Bran at plus 200. I think that's a little thin. So I would just shoot for upside, and that's with Cersei.
Taylor Smith, thank you very much. Be sure to check out Taylor's articles on Game of Thrones online now at gamblingsites.org for even more on this season's betting odds. I'm Drew Goldfarb. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.